Welcome, guys, to the newest episode of A1 Agents. I've got my good friend with me, Wyatt Mace. Mr. Wyatt Mace, man. I've admired this guy from afar. He's become one of my, one of my best friends in this industry. I don't know how else to say it. So a little bit about Wyatt. He's a husband. He's a father of two. He's an insurance agency owner. He's a real estate investor. He has about 11 properties. 5 of them are Airbnbs. He is very bullish on crypto. He's a crypto investor as well. And this is the coolest part, guys. He's only 27 years old. Like I said, he's become one of my really good friends, and I look up to him a lot because not only do we speak the same language in insurance, but he's doing a lot of things that I would love to diversify in and learn more about. So that way, all my eggs aren't in the same basket. So Wyatt, thank you so much for being with me, brother.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me. Excited about it.
Yeah. So tell my audience a little bit about your story and who you are.
Yeah, man. So kind of like you and I were talking a minute ago, prior to getting into insurance, I was in the health and fitness industry. By coincidence, one of my clients at the time was an insurance agent. She was looking to retire and get out, and did a soft intro and said, "Hey, I think you'd be good at this insurance thing, and maybe you want to have a chat with my FSL." FSL was a field sales leader. So I said, "Okay, you know what? I'll have a conversation with the guy." So long story short, he came to my storefront, sat down. We had about a 2-hour meeting, kind of showed me how everything worked and what you can do in the insurance industry, and how your growth is really based on you and how much you want to grow. And so I was hooked. I said, okay. So we went down the rabbit hole, did the interview process, did their onboarding stuff, did the training, got the licensing, all the stuff. And about 4 months later, I was selling my business and buying hers. So the rest is history. And had a lot of fun doing it. I have probably a similar story to a lot of people in the insurance industry where, I started with a small book and 1 staff. I bought a book. I didn't start scratch. And my FSL at the time, he said, "Hey, you have to write, I think it was like 28 or 29 items a month." And he goes, "And you'll bonus, and you'll get a little bonus." And I said, "Okay." So we did. We just hustled. I didn't know what a lead was. I didn't know what a CRM was. I didn't know what an auto dialer was. I didn't know any of that stuff, right? I just knew that, hey, I could reach out to enough people on Facebook and friends and family and whatever, and write enough to hit a bonus, and then maybe I can hire somebody, right? And then we can buy some leads and whatever. So we did. We just hustled and knocked on doors and hit up people on Facebook and talked to realtors and whatever, and we did it. And wrote enough, got a little bit of a bonus, and started buying some leads, and the rest is history. We were just at a meeting this morning. I got 2 new guys who just started. We're at 12 staff now, including myself, so 11 staff. $5 million agency. We've got 2 locations now. Had 3, down to 2 locations now. So yeah, that's the insurance story. So
awesome, man. And so you were how old at this time? You were 24?
Bought the book. Yeah. I was 24 when I bought the first book.
Okay.
Yes,
well,
sir.
You got an impressive resume, man. I mean, because it took me 5 years to get to 5 mil, and so hats off and kudos to you, man. I guess I want to keep it on the topic of insurance initially, and then we'll branch off into the other juicy things. But what are 3 things that you have learned on this insurance journey that I guess that you would do differently if you could start all over today? What would you do differently?
Put me on the spot, Nick. I told you to send me these questions before we started. No, I'm just playing. 3 things that I wish I knew. I think one thing that I struggled with for a while was delegating responsibility. And I think most business owners probably do, struggle with the same things, but delegating tasks that I felt like I should be doing, that was a big deal for me. But it allowed, like, leverage is everything, right? And we could talk about that more, but leveraging my time, I only have so many hours in a day, and I can only do so many things, and delegating stuff was a big deal for me. And that kind of ties into hiring too. I felt like, why would I pay a staff member whatever, 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 a year when I can do that same task and save the money. So that was, I would say that's number one. Number two, is I think a big thing a big takeaway from any successful agent that I know is you've got to invest in your staff, in your marketing. If you want to grow and with the company that you and I are with, Nick, and most insurance companies, regardless of your setup or whatever, if you want to grow, you've got to invest. You've got to be able to spend the money, and you can't be scared to buy the leads and train and whatever. And it can be scary initially, but I think the quicker new agency owners can get used to that and just have that tied into what they're doing, I think the better. Can you hear me, Nick? You're frozen.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, there we go. That would be number two. Number three, gosh, that's a tough one. I would say not being too quick to, I guess this is like two in one. Don't be afraid to try new things in regards to your marketing. But I would say at the same time, don't kick things too quickly, right? I made that mistake early on where, we would try a marketing source, say it's whatever, life transfers, right? And if I didn't have a direct ROI in a very short period of time, I was quick to let that go, right?
Yeah.
And so, so one thing that I learned from just hanging around agents that were better than me was that, it takes time to get good at certain things. And you really don't know if something's going to work or not until, 90 to 100 days down the road. 180 days down the road. So I would say that would be I wish somebody would have told me that initially was, hey, if you're not closing business from these leads or these mailers or whatever right away, doesn't mean that they don't work. It just means that you need to refine your process and get better at them and train your staff and those types of things. So yeah, that'd be number three.
Yeah. I agree with all three of those, man. And one of the things that I have noticed about you, and in this respect, you're very similar to me, is your willingness to network, to get around people that are doing better than you, and to really just be a sponge. And that's one thing I've noticed about you, whether it's learning from the insurance dudes or whether it's learning from, Craig Wiggins and his team, or any of the other guys that are willing to share their wealth of knowledge. You've been there. You've been there just
Totally.
about all these different things. And so I commend you for that.
Thank you. That'd probably be a bonus, man. I would say asking questions is the number one reason why we've had even the smallest amount of success in this business. I've learned everything that I know from other agents, and taking what they say and implementing it, and then correcting and going on as you figuring it out as you go. Asking questions has been pivotal for us in our success. So
yeah, dude, I can't get over that you're the same age that when I started in the insurance industry, man. And I can't tip my hat off to you enough, because everything that you're doing, you even have a family. I don't even have that box checked yet. You know what I mean? And so I just have a lot of respect for you, man. I mean, between balancing family, insurance, and real estate, all three of them. You want to talk about that?
Sure, happy to. Well, I appreciate it. I'm getting too much credit. I mean, I think number one, I will say my wife is a rock star. Being able to balance the stuff that we're doing, like with insurance and real estate, it's a tough thing to do, but you just kind of learn as you go. It's just like anything else, right? And so my wife holds it down at home. And, we're at a point with our kids, they're at a hyper crazy, age, and they require a lot of attention, and she's the best mom I could ask for. And it allows me to do stuff, like what we're doing here at the office and in real estate. So, that's the number one thing I would say. But, yeah, like I said, it's a challenge, man, but you just kind of figure it out as you go. I don't know what I don't know. And, I'm not perfect by any means, and I'm getting better at that every day. But kind of like what I was saying earlier, a big thing that helped us to scale was learning how to be okay with allowing other people to do stuff and delegating tasks and hiring staff and those types of things. So, yeah, like I say, give me too much credit, but we're figuring it out. So.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you have what is your organizational structure look like? Do you have managers? Do you have a service team? Are you specialized?
I do. Yep. So I've got 2 office managers. We've got a part-timer who does like some office admin type stuff, cancellation audits and things like that. And then I've got 8 sales staff. So 2 are brand new. So really 6. In fact, today's their first day on the phones. But I've got 8 sales staff now with those 2 new guys, 2 office managers / service, and then part-timer. So.
Okay. What is if you had to, I know nobody likes really answering this question, but I guess what is your goal with the insurance industry, with the insurance agency rather?
I don't know that I can answer that question. I think that the reward for me is setting a goal, whatever it may be, a production goal, a book size goal, a staff goal, whatever, and figuring out how to get there. I've kind of learned that along the way. I mean, and the reason I say that is when I started as an agent, I have it written out in a book somewhere. My number one goal when I retired is I wanted to have a $5 million agency. And we've done that in 3.5 years. And so things quickly change. And, I think for me, there really isn't, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I think I'm having a lot of fun and we're getting better every day. And I just want to see where we can take this thing, whether it's a certain size of premium for the book, whether it's a production goal, I don't know, but we're just having fun. And at some point that may change, and I'm just kind of along for the ride. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I love that, man. So how did you get into real estate? Was this something that you were already doing before insurance, or it's something that you got in simultaneously? Talk about that.
Yeah, interesting. So my little backstory, I guess, both my parents have been in real estate for a while. My mom started out as a realtor, I believe after the market crashed in 2008, or somewhere along that time. Around that time, she started as a real estate agent. Shortly thereafter, my dad got involved. They became a team and started selling real estate and had fun with it. My mom has since stopped doing that. My dad is a real estate agent, but they, I would say, had a lot of influence on me getting started in investing in real estate. They had some rental properties and things on their own. I think really where things changed for me was after I got the agency, and we started to make a little bit more money and do a little bit better financially. I wanted to get into flipping houses. And so my dad had flipped some homes before, so we partnered up and started flipping houses. A real pivotal moment for us was getting into Airbnbs, short-term rentals. There's a property that we bought up in Durango, Colorado. It's just at a ski resort, and the whole intention with buying that property was to use it as a vacation house, right, and to take the family and whatever. But we knew, just because like we had some buddies in the area that had some rentals up there that were doing well, and there's some sites and stuff you can look up data, but we knew that it would rent well enough to pay for itself, right? And so the thought process was okay, well, we'll take it down. We'll go stay there when we want, and then the Airbnb will get it to pay for itself. That property turned into a monster, and it rented significantly better than we thought. Appreciated in value a ton. I think COVID played into that a little bit. In the real estate market in general, I mean, people went crazy. Inventory was gone, but the property dang near doubled in value. Made a ton of money that first year in rental income and decided to sell it. Within that first year, the developer that built that property came to us and said, hey, we're going to build some more units. Do you guys want them? And so I called my dad and another guy, and I said, hey, they're building 8 of these things. I think we should try to take all 8 of them down. Let's partner up and pool our resources together and our brains and see if we can take these things down. So we offered to buy all 8. The developer came back and said, hey, we don't want to sell you all 8. We'll sell you 4 of them. and we'll sell you 4 more in the last phase. We're going to do another phase in 2023. So we accepted that and put these 4 units under contract, and have since done a couple of other things up there. We've got 2 other properties that just down the street from these ones that were short-term rentals and have done really well. And it's just a really popular, I guess you could say, up and coming area. I mean, Durango's been popular for a while, but people are realizing that, you know, the entry point for that area relative to, like, you know, a Telluride or an Aspen is a lot lower. And so, you know, the ski resort's a little bit cheaper. The skiing is phenomenal. The snow's great. Food is amazing. And so it's a really popular destination. And so, inventory is just like everywhere else. It's really light. And so prices go up. It's just basic supply and demand. And so, that whole play up there at Purgatory has changed a lot for us. So.
Okay. And any advice for people wanting to get into Airbnbs? There's probably people like me that either don't have a personal house yet. I finally got over that hump. I bought my personal residence finally. Glad I did. August
Nice.
2020. It's already has some value in that bad boy.
Good for you. Nice.
And
so
now
did you say it's gone up in value? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like 100K. Like 100K.
Love it, dude. Power of real estate.
Vegas is, I mean, obviously I think it's a little inflated, and we're due for some sort of pullbacks. Who knows, right? Nobody knows.
Sure.
But you know, but I would love to learn more about, you know, I think, you know, like here in Vegas, for instance, there has been an Airbnb law that you're not allowed to do it, and I believe it's going to be lifted here pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
And so, you know, any advice for people that I guess just want to own more real estate or be an investor? Any advice for those people?
Yeah, I look at real estate really similar to how I look at the insurance industry, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're solving a problem for somebody, whether it's providing housing. You know, we primarily, what we're doing now is flips and short-term rentals. And so the problems that we're solving is we're taking, you know, old rundown, maybe abandoned houses, or maybe they're not even really run down, they just need a facelift. We're putting some money into them, providing value, increasing the value of that property, and selling it to an end buyer. And then for the vacation rentals, you know, everybody's gonna go on vacation, right? At any time in history, any type of economic you know, downturn, or whether the economy's good, whether the economy's bad or whatever, people are going to go on vacation, right? And so it's kind of a multifaceted answer, but I think, like I say, I look at real estate as a problem-solving business. And so when you look at it from that perspective, as long as you can provide a solution, it makes sense. So we've got a couple of flips going right now. We've got a couple of commercial properties going, commercial property rentals, and then the short-term rentals. And so I would say, you know, at the end of the day, everybody's always going to have to have a place to live. Even though, you know, COVID has shifted things and a lot of companies are working virtually, I think there's always going to be a need for office space. There's always going to be people wanting a vacation. And so, you know, I think, like I say, when you look at it from that perspective and figuring out how to leverage yourself and leverage your money, and it doesn't take long, man. You do a couple. I'm certainly not an expert. I mean, we've done some cool things and have had some success, but once you do a property here and there, and regardless of what it is, you know, you figure out what you want to do, whether you want to have multifamily rentals or Airbnbs or flip houses or whatever, do a couple of projects and you'll quickly figure out where you're good and where you're not. And you fill the gaps, just like your insurance industry, right? Or your insurance agency, right? You know, if you have a problem, or you have a staff that quits, or you have an inefficiency in your office in any, you know, way, you're going to go fill that gap, right? And so it's the same thing with real estate, man. So you just got to do it. People think that there's this big barrier of entry, right? When it comes to real estate, real estate's this big scary thing. It's not complicated. You do a couple of deals and you'll figure it out. So
I agree. Yeah. And it does seem a little intimidating. You know, these people that I follow on social media, these guys are like, you know, they're doing, you know, hundreds of deals, I guess. And, you know, us as the little guys, you know, it seems like it's a lot, but on the contrary, there are people that probably look at, our insurance agencies, and they think, well, how did he do that? I used to look at some
Sure.
of these large multi-million-dollar insurance agents and think like, how the heck did they do it? Are they doing
Right.
something shady? Are they doing something shady? Like,
Sure.
like how are they
Yeah.
doing it? And I think one step at a time. I mean, one step
Sure.
at a time. And so, yeah, I do agree
Totally.
with you there. Um, Now, the third thing that you're very bullish on, and you can't stop talking about it, man. I could tell that it gets you going, man. If I ask you a crypto question, you're like the Energizer Bunny, man. It don't stop.
Yeah.
And so, talk about crypto, man.
Okay. So, I mean, I'll give you the 30,000 foot overview, right? Of why I like crypto. Um, I think that given the current state of our economy, right, and our administration and what's going on with the dollar, I think it's a really pivotal time in history, especially in mine and your life, because we haven't gone through anything like this yet, to leverage our money and buy assets, right? At a time, any time where assets are scarce, regardless of what it is, gold, crypto, real estate, those asset prices go up, right? And with all of these stimulus bills that have come out over the last couple of years, the value of the dollar has gone down significantly. And so, the news will say that inflation is only 5, 6, or 7%. It's not the case, right? That's the CPI, and the CPI can be manipulated by the Fed. It's just a basket of goods that they can measure inflation on. Well, they get to pick what's in that basket of goods, right? And so, inflation's probably double what they're saying it is. It's somewhere 11 to 13%, depending on what you're looking at. And so, when there's more dollars in circulation, more anything in circulation, the value goes down. Think about it like this. If I said, hey, Nick, wherever your house is, right, where you live, if we're going to build 500 of those same exact houses right in your backyard, right, there's going to be a new development right behind you. What's going to happen to the value of your home? It's probably not going to go up because there's a lot more of those available. But if they said, hey, we're not building another house in Las Vegas, Nevada for another 20 years, what would happen to the value of your house? It would skyrocket, right? It would go up because people want to be in Vegas. There's just less supply. And so that's kind of how you have to look at cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin in particular. Is there's a fixed supply of an asset, right? And in this case, it's Bitcoin. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not like some crypto expert or whatever, but I understand it from a fundamental level. And I would rather have my money in an asset that is going up in value over time because of its scarcity, rather than holding, say, dollars in my bank account, and the government's printing those on a daily basis, millions and millions of dollars on a daily basis, and the value of those dollars going down, right? And so that's what the wealthy over time understand, is that you have to put your assets, and again, in this case, I'm talking about dollars, your money, into scarce assets. And so real estate, cryptocurrency, and argue that it can be made for gold and silver, anything that there is a fixed supply, or real estate doesn't have a fixed supply, but they can't just say, okay, hey, we're going to print 10 million homes today, right? It takes time, it takes money, it takes resources, it takes labor, all those things. And so it's a lot more, it's not just infinite, right? And so, yeah, that's the 30,000 foot overview. And I think, beyond that, you can kind of go down the rabbit hole and do research on different projects and DeFi and all kinds of stuff, and make a lot of money doing that. You kind of have to know what you're doing, but and it takes time. But I would say for the listeners, I mean, if you're wanting to get into real estate, wanting to get into crypto, start small, but educate yourself and do it. I think if you know how to generate money at all, generate an income, if you have an income, you've got to figure out how to invest your money and put it into things that are going to, at the very least, hold its value and outpace inflation, right? Because if you don't, your dollars are just losing value. And it's why our grandparents were able to buy groceries for $10, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And now a grocery run is $200, right? That's just a simple example of how purchasing power goes down over time, but the value of assets go up over time. So,
right. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's very simple when you put it like that. One of the for a lot of the people that are probably on my channel and watching this, a very important point to make is that focus on your skills first. Focus on that one singular income, cash cow business, or income from, if you're an employee of an agency, get your income up, right? Get to a point where you're
100%.
making 60, 80, 100K a year, and then take a little bit of that and just invest in other things. But
Sure.
focus on the skills, focus on the one thing first. Don't be, the jack of all trades, trying to do way too many things. Cause I've been down that road, and I've gotten nowhere for
Sure.
27 years of my life.
Yeah.
And so, but
Plus you
let me
learned a
ask.
lesson. I mean, you learned from doing those things and making those mistakes, right? So it's not, I mean, it's not null and void. I mean, you learn lessons, right? So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I was, one of my mentors used to call it, I wasn't a jack of all trades. I was jacking the trade. And I love that, man. I love that. And it stuck
nice.
with me. But, but the insurance agents or agency owners that are watching this, as you build your agency up, and I'm 5 years in, I know you're 3 years in, you can slowly diversify into other things. And again, hats off to you, because you're still growing your agency at a very high level, while still diversifying like crazy. It seems like you do have some partners, and that probably helps for sure. Juggle everything. So
Yeah. I mean, in the real estate world, I think it really ultimate boils down to, you get creative and you just figure it out, right? And so I knew that, like my dad had experience flipping houses when we started. He knew the contractors and he knew the flooring guys and he knew the roofing guys and whatever, and he had those contacts. And so we went in 50-50 on some flip houses, and it turned into its own thing. And so now in our business, like in our real estate business, he handles the flip houses. I handle all the short-term rentals and the stuff that we're doing in Durango, right? Just because that's kind of my niche. I've spent the time learning about those things, and whatever, he handles the flips, and that's our setup. So yeah,
love it.
whatever it takes to get it done, doesn't
I love it.
matter.
Now let me ask you this. Now back on the diversifying, you told me something really cool that you're either doing or used to do, and I want to ask you the question as far as, which do you recommend? So you can invest in, say, an S&P 500, taking maybe 500, 250 bucks or 500, $1,000 a month, and put it into an S&P 500 index fund where you're making, 8 to, 13%, whatever, every single year.
Sure.
But you've done that same thing into your crypto investments, correct?
Sure. Yep.
Why have you changed from index fund investing, or maybe you lowered it? I can't remember what you said. I'll let you tell that. From index funds, what's arguably safer and what we've always done, into Bitcoin,
Sure.
that's arguably more risky.
Well, I will say I do both. I've got money in the market. I've got some IRAs and different things at Edward Jones, and I've got a really good advisor who manages all that for me. But really what it boils down to is it's dollar cost averaging. So the thought process behind it is, I would say why 80% of people lose in the stock market or in cryptocurrency or whatever is they invest based off of emotion, right? Prices are really high, things are going really good, and there's all this there's this thing called the fear and greed index, right, for cryptocurrency. And what it tracks basically is like the sentiment of the market, right? And so there's all this hype on social media and all these different things. And so guys, what typically happens, which is backwards when you think about it, they start buying in at those times when prices are really high. And then, at some point prices are going to come down. Crypto is volatile, right? And so when it comes down, they freak out, like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose all my money. So they sell at a loss. So they're buying high and they're selling low. So a way around that, and how you get better at that, is you don't have to become like a day trader. You don't have to understand charts and none of that stuff. It's similar to how like your grandma said, hey, save 10% of every paycheck you get, right? It's the same thought process. And so when you're investing, people have to get around the thought of, hey, when I'm buying cryptocurrency, or I'm putting money into an index fund, or I'm buying real estate, then I'm spending my money. I'm getting rid of my money. No, you're not. You're just reallocating that dollar, right? When you're spending the money is if you're going shopping and blowing it on cars and watches and whatever, right? That's different. And so when you're just maneuvering your money into a different asset, you're not spending, you're investing. And so, but dollar cost averaging is just, hey, I'm going to put a little bit away every single month. I'm going to take advantage of the highs and I'm going to take advantage of the lows. No matter what, if I want to spend, basically you figure out how much can I invest. Say it's $1,000 a month. Okay. Well, I'm going to every, 15th of the month, I'm going to put $1,000 into my S&P index fund, or I'm going to put $1,000 into Bitcoin. Right. And so when the markets are down, you're going to be buying at cheaper prices. And so ultimately what it does is it brings your cost basis down over time. And it removes the emotion out of it. Right. And one thing I will say too, like to your point, when you were saying like crypto is riskier, that is generally the sentiment, right? Is that it's very volatile. So it's risky. But when you understand supply and demand for the long term, and I was going to tell you this earlier, the reason I invest in crypto is I think there's a significant opportunity cost for guys like you and I who are able to generate high amounts of revenue and income or whatever that don't buy scarce assets like real estate and cryptocurrency, because those things are going to go up in time and our dollars are going to go down. Right. And so to me, I don't see it as a risk. I see as holding my money and not investing my money as the biggest risk, because I'm going to get behind. Right. So yeah. Anyway, I could go on. I mean, we could be on this call for 2 hours, man. But.
Right. Yeah. No, it gets you going, man. And, and you're absolutely right. I love what you just ended with there, is that, people like us, time is on our side. And a lot of people hopefully watching this are going to use the insurance industry as a vehicle to build that income, to
Totally.
slowly, invest. My average audience, my biggest demographic of audience is the age of 25 to 34. And so
cool.
If you're in that age group, and Jesus, I can't believe that I'm almost out of the 34 range. But if you're in that age range, we've got time. We've got another 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. So time is on our side, and just pay attention. Like, crypto's everywhere now. It's not, it's only getting bigger. More people are starting to find out about it. And to your point, it's a scarce asset. So, and
we've got institutions investing billions of dollars into it. Right. And it's like, at the end of the day, you follow the smart money. I think I would encourage your audience, do your own research. There's a lot of resources out there. I think that don't ever invest money into something you don't understand because your buddy said to, or because you don't want to miss out on the next pump or whatever. Educate yourself, understand what your risk profile is, understand how much you can invest every month, and have a long-term time horizon, right? Like, don't invest $1,000 today thinking that it's going to triple next month. You're going to pull it out and go buy a Rolex or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I invest into crypto and I'm not touching that money for another 30 years. And the thought is that at that point, when I'm ready to retire, I'm going to have, a couple $1,000,000 here and a couple $1,000,000 here and a couple $1,000,000 here. And so, yeah.
Cool. What is a couple more questions and I'll let you go.
Absolutely.
Is what's your favorite part of the insurance business?
Oh man. I love, I'll give you two answers. I love the unlimited scalability, right? I'm not aware of, and maybe there are some out there. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of industries where, you have a similar opportunity, but there is not a better industry, in my opinion, out there where however much you want to grow, or however much you don't. I mean, it's up to you, right? It's up to you and your work ethic and how much time and money and effort you're willing to put into your business. You'll get rewarded in growth. And so I love that. And, if I want to have 50 employees and $100 million book of business, I can do that. It's going to take time. It's going to be hard. I'm going to have to grind to get there, but you have the ability to do that. And not a lot of other industries offer that scalability. And then I would say number two is you got to show up every single day. It sounds kind of corny, but I was telling my staff this the other day. We're Super Bowl is this Sunday, right? And so we were just watching the NFL playoffs a couple of weeks ago, and watching some of these teams prepare all year long for really ultimately one game, right? You win or you go home, right? And we in our industry, it doesn't matter if we had a fantastic day yesterday or a terrible day yesterday, or a fantastic month last month or a terrible month last month. We still have to show up today. We get a new, fresh opportunity today. We're back at zero every day. And I hated that when I started as an agent, I remember thinking, especially when it was just myself and one service staff, I remember thinking, man, I put a really good month together. I got to go back to zero and do it all over again. But I've learned to love that along the way. And
Yeah.
I think that that has taught me so much. And it's such a good thing because it keeps you accountable. But it's also a blessing, right? If you had a bad day yesterday, guess what? You get to show up today and you're back at zero. So I would say those would be the two things that I love most.
Yeah, for sure. And it's challenging. I agree with you there that starting from zero is something that you have to learn to love. And
100%.
those are the people that we need to bring on and mold to have that same thinking as well. So last question before I let you go, Wyatt, is this series that I do is called A1 Agents, and I like to ask everybody, A1 technically stands for to the highest of standards, the highest of quality and things like that. And so how I wanted to compare that to life and what we talk about on the show is, what are 3 standards that you live your life by, and share that with my audience.
3 standards that I live my life by. Well, I would say number 1, at the end of the day, the reason I get up in the morning is to take care of my family. I'm learning every day how to be a better father, how to be a better husband, how to be a better leader. But I think that's such a privilege and a blessing. And so I live my life every single day to live up to the standards for my wife and my daughters. That's number 1. Whatever type of man needs to be, that I need to be for them, to make them happy, to make them proud. That's number 1. Number 2 is, you got to have integrity, right? You got to do things the right way. As fast as we like to go and as much as we like to do on the insurance business and in the real estate business, if we weren't doing things the right way, ultimately it would turn around and bite us in the butt. And so you got to have integrity and do things the right way and build a good, solid, honest business. And number 3 standard I live my life by. I think a lot of the things that I've been able to accomplish have been a result of consistency. And so regardless of what that is, I was blessed with, I'm kind of a type A personality, right? I'm OCD in a lot of ways. And my routine is one of those things. If I get up late and I don't go to the gym in the morning and I don't answer my emails by a certain time of the day, we don't have our training meeting at my office, and all these, there's a number of different things that we do throughout the day, I am thrown off. Right. And I think there's something to be said about that. Like, yes, I have some issues in that regard, but I think that consistency is what has, got us to a lot of the things, help us accomplish all the things we've been able to accomplish. And so I think consistency would be the last one. So
like it, man. Family, integrity, and consistency. I love it. So Wyatt, if for those of my audience, I know you're on, if you wanted my audience to find you, where can they find you?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I post most of my family stuff and like real estate deals and stuff on Instagram. It's just kind of a fun outlet for me. I definitely could step up my content game, and that's something I look up to you for, but it's just an outlet for me to have fun with is my Instagram. So it's just Wyatt D Mace. And Wyatt has 2 T's. And then my Facebook, just Wyatt Mace, kind of the same deal. A lot of my family stuff goes on there. And so, yeah.
Cool, man. Well, you're working behind the scenes, man. It's definitely a juggle to put in the work and to document it, but you're doing the most important part, man. So hats off to you, man. I tip my hat to you.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks again for your time. And if you guys got some value, you know what to do. Destroy the like button. Subscribe for all things insurance, entrepreneurship, and self-development. Wyatt, thank you again, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, buddy. I appreciate it.